What we're gonna do now in this particular case is we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take that high voltage connector, I'm gonna plug it back in. Now, we're not gonna cycle the key or anything. I wanna make sure you're aware of what we're doing. We're gonna go ahead in this case and just take that green connector and put it back together, okay? So I'm gonna ask the contactor to go ahead and close. Watch what the computer's gonna tell me. You can know what the computer's gonna tell me because you can watch the scan tool, okay? So here we go. What I'm doing now is defeating the safety lock, and I'm gonna go ahead and push this connector in, and I'm gonna latch the connector into the high voltage mode again. So I'm in the high voltage mode now. Now, you're gonna notice that the scan tool right now is still showing close to 0 volts. And you're gonna notice it has a pattern on it. That pattern's there because we went from a scale of 0 to 500 volts, whatever it was. And if you notice the scan tool, this particular scan tool has the ability to drop the scale so you can get a better look at the signal. That's why instead of being a straight line towards 0, we now have a line that very simply is moving up and down. So that's showing some residual voltages and such on that line. And you want to keep in mind that those residual voltages are there because we magnified the scan tool picture. The scan tool did it on its own because it always wants to show us the best reflection of that particular signal. Now, I applied the high voltage back on in this case, but there was a little problem here. The computer saw that that high voltage went away when it wasn't really supposed to. So it is not going to allow the high voltage to come back in this particular case until we go ahead and cycle the key back off and then go ahead and open and close the door, cycle the truck. So what we're going to do now is ask our helper to go ahead in this particular case and cycle the key off. So we're going to shut the key off. You'll notice that there'll be some change in the lighting on the truck when he shuts the key off. So he's going to shut it off now. And then what we're going to do is open the truck and close the truck. Now, if you look at the scan tool shot right now, you see the scan tool lost data because we shut off the truck. Headlights just went off. We're in good shape. Now, what we're going to do next is open the door on the truck and then close the door again. Okay, so we're going to cycle the truck. Once he does that, I'm going to go ahead and hook my scan tool back up. So here's my scan tool hooked back up. Now I'm going to ask him to power the truck up again. Okay, so he's going to power the truck up again. Now notice when he powers the truck up, what happens is now we're back to high voltage. So now our high voltage is back. So there is no procedure that you're going to follow using any kind of a high amp connector on this truck. The reason they do that is, remember, anytime we use a high amp connector, you've got to definitely be wearing good arc-proof, spark arc-proof eye protection because this could have some amperage on it. And you pull it off, there might be some fairly big sparks. If you got 300, 400 amps on this circuit at the time, you know, you're going to get a pretty juicy spark out of there, and your eyes are the wettest part in your face. That's where it's going to go probably first. Remember, wetness like water and such conducts electricity a little easier than air. So bottom line is that's how you power the truck down. Remember, if you're going to power the truck back up, you need to go ahead and cycle the key off to reset the computer in here and cycle the door. The door cycle means you want to go ahead and power this thing up again. And then if you notice right now, once again, getting back to our scan tool, that we're over basically 300 volts again. We're at 359.69. So it's pretty simple to do. Let me go through it once again. I'm going to pull the connector off once more just so you can see how it works. So we're powered up right now. We have high voltage. And what we're going to do is pull the connector off once again. Now remember, this connector is only 12 volts. So I don't need 1,000-volt gloves that are Class O or anything like that to pull this connector, okay? So here we go. I'm going to run back over to the truck. I'm going to push the red safety in. I'm going to go ahead and, in this particular case, pull the connector back out. And what I'm going to do is disable the high voltage in this truck once again. And I'm going to open up the connector so the hole matches up, and notice immediately what happens to the scan tool data. The scan tool drops down to 0, okay? Now, I can plug this connector back in right away, but if I plug it in right away, remember what happens here. We have a scenario, basically, you've got to push in on it, by the way, to plug it back in. You've got to push in on the safety. I've just powered it back up, and if you notice, it doesn't power up because the computer knows there was a failure, and it's going to go ahead and prevent it from powering up. So to cycle it, once again, we've got to turn the key off. We've got to open the door. So let's do that real quickly. And while we're doing that, I'm going to take the scan tool, and I'm going to go back to the page that gives us DTCs and such. So the truck is powering up as we speak right now, so he's just turned the key back on. I'm going to go ahead and do the high-speed module scan in this particular case. And notice when I do it, I do have a DTC now because I interrupted basically the high voltage power, shut it off, and then I made sure it was off, okay, by looking at the scan data, and then I could work on the truck, repair the truck, and then I went ahead and basically repowered the truck with the high voltage in this particular case. So if we take a look at the BCM, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the BCM real quickly here, press on it. Control module improper wake-up performance. So that makes sense. That has a lot to do with me forcing it off, working on the truck, and then forcing it back on. Okay, so that's how you go ahead and service the high voltage on this truck, how you power it off so you can service high voltage entities on the truck. Now remember, as we stated, battery stays hot at all times, so keep that in mind as far as that goes. Now, you want to keep in mind that there's a scenario here as far as the trouble codes go. These things set trouble codes. In fact, they set trouble codes probably even better than other vehicles in the marketplace. So you want to keep in mind that you always want to use information systems, and you want to keep in mind the information systems are updated regularly, but if you have a 2023 truck, your information system might not have the information in it right now, okay? Some of the information systems out there don't have information on certain specialty electric vehicles also, so please go ahead and keep that in mind. This particular scan tool has information system built in. So we're just going to go ahead here and go to the scan tool real quick. Let's say I want to go ahead and torque some wheels and such while I'm servicing this vehicle also. And if you notice right over here, I just pulled up some of the other service information. You know, a good tip from AVI here, if you do have a scan tool, you know, usually you can get the scan tool manufacturer to allow you to go ahead and use your current information system you're paying for, or in some cases they have an information system that you can actually have in the scan tool that's very reasonable in price that you can use. And that's what this one happens to have. It's got the motor technical information in it. And if you notice in this case, hey, there's my wheel torque lug, not torque, and that's 150 in this particular case. So it's nice that you can have your information at your scan tool so you can go ahead about your business. Wiring diagrams and things like that are great to have in your scan tool so you can just keep working. You don't have to go to someplace else and go ahead and print the diagram and all that stuff. You pull it up hot off the vehicle and you're good to go.